Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am the host of a spiritually motivated and inspirational podcast. And today's What Is This? My Cup Runneth Over. If we remember, Psalm 23, verse 5 means that the person's blessings are overflowing, exceeding what they need or expect. It signifies God's abundant grace, provision, and love, which go beyond mere sufficiency. The phrase suggests a feeling of being completely filled and satisfied, with more than enough to spare. Now, if we think about and look at that is more than what we expected, more than what we have ever desired in our life, to overflow with blessings in our life. The one thing that many of us have found out, especially with those that have an abundance and more and more and more than they want more, where is contentment? Now, the overflowing abundance, the phrase literally means that the cup is full to the point of spilling over, symbolizing an abundance that is greater than what is needed. The generosity of God is a great nature where He provides not just what is necessary, but an overflow of blessings and grace. The more than enough is the idea that God's blessings are not just sufficient, but exceeding and overflowing, leaving the recipient feeling full and sanctified. The spiritual part of this is, while the image is a cup of drink, the verse can be interpreted to encompass various aspects of life, including spiritual blessings, material comfort, and emotional well-being. The abundance can also be interpreted as an overflow that is meant to be shared with others, implying that God's blessings are meant to be extended beyond oneself. Now, if we also look at it, that it can be interpreted as I have more than enough for my needs. That God, you have taken care of everything beyond my expectations, and I have more than I could ever think that I need. So why do people want more? Because they obtained more. When a fountain feels like it's running out of water, the one thing that most people will do, they will try to find all type of canteens, buckets, whatever they can find to get as much water as they possibly can, because they never want to run out. But God's fountain never shuts off unless we are drifting off into something of wickedness against His will. God never turns off the fountain. Sometimes the fountain may drip. Sometimes the fountain may have a steady stream. Sometimes there's a little drizzle. But then when He really cranks it up and opening up, is overpowering. It's almost like a cloud. You have some clouds where you'll see just drops of raindrops here and there. Then we have some where it's like a steady mist. Then it's like a steady rain. Then it's an overpouring. It depends on what God sees fit for the time. If that rain is overpouring, there must be a lot of seeds out here that God is trying to water. That's the way that I look at it. Now, when it's overflowing to the point where floods come about, then there is a warning in behind that. That steady mist sometimes is to cool things down. Then it could also make things a little bit more muggy, depending on the climate and where we are. My cup runneth over includes the blessings of God. That when your cup is empty, I'll go to God and I'll say, God, okay, my vessel is empty. My cup is empty, Lord. Fill me up. Fill me up with what you want me to have. Fill me up with the spiritual blessings that you want me to know, want me to speak about, want me to share, want me to give light to. Fill me up, Lord. Fill my cup. And then there are times when my cup is running over to the point I have to share it with somebody. Like when God planted a seed within my spirit in regards to a seed. And he said, Kim, there's a difference between a seed and an offering. So that forced me to go and look that up. You know, God tells us things and plants things in our spirit just to see what we'll do. Are we going to say, oh, there's a difference between the seed and the offering? How come? We'll go look it up. Or we have the attitude, oh, there's a difference between the seed and the offering. Oh, okay. And then you don't do anything about it. You don't investigate. You don't try to find out why that there is this difference. You don't do anything. You just take it and leave it. And you know, there are moments when certain things set in my spirit, I got to find out about. I just don't receive it and just say, oh, really? And then just go on about my business. God has placed it there because he wants me to know. This is how your cup gets full. Sometimes I believe my cup is so big that it'll never fill up because I know there are blessings there, but it's not overflowing. But then there are times when I believe I have a tiny cup because it's overflowing everywhere and I can't catch it all. And that's when God wants me to share it with someone else. Think of that cup as a seed. You put that seed in the ground. Now you may put in the ground maybe 5 or 6, let's just say 5 or 6 tomato seeds in the ground. And them tomato seeds, you know, you out there and you check in your garden and you look and see if it's ready to sprout and different things of that nature. Those 5 or 6 seeds may turn into 50 or 60. Those 50 or 60 is more than what you can eat. And I'm talking about cherry tomatoes. Now, if we're talking about the bigger tomatoes, that's shaped almost as big as an apple, you might see about 20 or 30 of them. You pull them and then some more grow. You pull some more, then some more grow. You'll have so many, still you'll have more than enough that you can share with someone else. And I believe that that's where the term more than enough comes in. God is more than enough. Then we don't need anything else. If we have God, we have everything we need. We have everything we need and everything we could ever want. But in the sense of a physical life, we feel like we lack. In the spiritual world, we feel like we have an abundance. But in our physical life, it looks like we barely have enough. And then when we complain about having a lack, we have to look around our rooms and stuff, and we'll have stuff hanging out in the corner here, and a bedroom is almost overfilled with things. And we look at it and be like, how is it that we are saying that we don't have enough and we don't have room to put anything else? We have to look at where the lack is. Is the lack in our lives spiritual or physical? Money is always tight for a lot of people. Whereas there are those that have more than enough money. Then there are those out here stealing people's money by running a good hustle. They robbing people blind. And then when the fountain stops, see, that's the thing about doing evil. The money is going to dry up. That's why you got to figure out another hustle. Because the hustle that you started, it was lucrative, but it's becoming less available to you because you're spending it too fast. You're going out here and you buying a $2 and $3 and $5 million house. You're going out here and buying 5 and 6 and 10 different cars. You're going out here buying watches that are $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, rings and jewelry that's over $100,000. Money don't last at that point because you are liking that high-end stuff. But if God blessed you, not you hustling anybody, not you stealing from someone, not you running a good line and getting people to give you money. When you are being blessed by God, that blessing is not just for you. Once your needs and your desires have been fulfilled, it's time to bless somebody else. Meaning that God is not expecting you to live outside of your means. Just because you have this $50 million today, don't mean that that $50 million is going to be available for you in the future. You go through it having high-end hotel room stays and having these lavish vacations and all of this. Money depletes. You have to replace the money that you spend. And if you don't have a replacement for what is being spent out, you're going to go through it a whole lot faster. God is wanting to get us to the point where we are content. That when your cup is running over, you are to be blessing somebody else. You live within your means or what you have. And then you give to others that they can have a life of abundance and not a life of lack. It is essential that we learn that when our cup is running over, that doesn't mean that we keep it for ourselves or to ourselves. It means that we are supposed to be blessing somebody else. That when even in the book of Leviticus and Exodus, when God said when you plant something, don't glean everything, don't clean everything else. Leave something for the stranger and for the poor. That your abundance is enough for your household. Leave the rest of it for those that are not able. The stranger or the visitor. Leave it for the poor. Leave it for them. That they have an abundance as well in their life. That is what God is talking. That is more than enough. That when the children of Israel have enough to be able to fill their household, and God even told them that when they first came out of the land of Egypt, that they are to only take enough for their household for that day, that the many do not lack, and that the less do not have an abundance. That each day God was going to supply their need. God wants us to live within our means. God knows that you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and He wants you to take just that amount. That way you don't have anything to spoil. When you have too much, that's what happens. It spoils. And then you got to get rid of it anyway. So you took too much. Then those that had lack, they didn't have enough. They ran out of food. And God asked them, didn't I tell them to make sure that they had enough for their food or for their household for the duration of the Sabbath? Didn't I tell them that? Why are they coming out of their house looking for something to eat? I told them to have more than enough for 2 days. I told them to have enough to sustain them. And they didn't do it. The question is, what is my cup runneth over? The cup that runs over is that cup that give a surplus of taking care of not only one's needs, but someone else's. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.